Let's not waste any time, let's get straight into this breakdown. Follow my Instagram to check out my edits, or if you want to contact me or talk to me at all, and check out my Sofy if you want my presets and editing pack and whatnot. Alright, let's get into this. So this first lightning effect over him and behind him, I have 69 of them and I don't want to go through all of them, so I'm just going to add a random one that is kind of similar, but it's going to be the same concept. So to get it over him, you're just going to want to add it, you're going to drag the overlay on top of your clip, and then you'll have the lightning over it. You're going to click on it, go to Effect Controls, and then go to your opacity, open that up. Then on this blend mode where it says normal, change that to lighten. If you're in Vegas, you're going to want to change the track layer compositing mode to add, and it'll get rid of all the black. So you have this blue electric effect, and it's the same, pretty much the same thing. Now if you want to get it behind him, the way they did it is they chroma keyed him. They chroma keyed out since our clip right here doesn't have really the same color, we can't do it really to the sky, we're gonna have to mask him out. So it's pretty much the same concept except chroma key. So if you look now, we can't see our overlay, correct? We're gonna click on this top layer. I'm gonna go to the first frame of it, click on Effect Controls, Opacity, and click on this little draw tool right here. Now I'm just gonna make a very crude mask, and super crude, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Like that. I'm gonna make our mask feather to 10 because that's how I just like it. Now if you look at the effect right now, if I move it over to the side a little bit, it would be right behind him. It won't go over him, except right here where the mask doesn't complete. So let me go back to my mask, click on this. If I click play, it'll mask him out, and I don't really have to do any of the work, but except when he turns, I'm going to have to adjust that mask. But you can see our mask right here, it won't go behind it, so you see it's missing his eye. And go keyframe by keyframe, you can adjust the mask like this, and so it really doesn't go behind him. Just make it look a little bit better, right? And then I go, let's say, one keyframe back. There's not really a lot, and then I'm going to do it right here in this keyframe. Right, and everything else is good, I believe. And yeah, so pretty much what I did is I masked it out and pressed that little play button. The computer kind of generates a mask for you, but if you have a lot of movement, it's not going to do that good, because you're going to do it. But so you can do it by hand like this and just kind of adjust that a little bit. Bring this in case there's something over here. Bring this out like that. Okay, and then it's pretty much done. So if you look at the effect now, I'm gonna click on this. It's mostly behind him, even though about right here, or where was it really bad at? Right here. Click this. Where's my mask? To like that, and this is pretty much how you get it behind him and how they got it behind him. Easier instead of having to mask it all. So this little ghosting clone effect is super simple. I have my clip right here I'm going to use, and then you want to have obviously movement in the clip where you set a ghosting effect right here since he's moving from right to left. So what you want to do is you want to get your clip, copy it, and then just drag it above. Right click the top clip, and then replace roto brush tool. Double click on your video preview. It'll bring up to your layer. And then now what you want to do is you should want to kind of copy him, or just drag and kind of color him. And then once you do that, it will kind of mask him out crudely, which is super bad. To get like a better mask, just hold Alt and then just drag and color out all the things you don't want in the mask. So right about like that, and that's kind of a decent mask. It could be better, but I don't want to take time. So now if we go through the clip, you can see it'll mask him out very roughly, and then each keyframe you can fix it. So I don't want all this right here. I'm just going to hold Alt again and take that out. Hold Alt again, take that out. I think this keyframe, yep, hold Alt, take that out. One more time right here, and it got something kind of weird. Was it holding shift? Oh wait, hold on, go back. Got something weird like this. Okay, like this. We can get rid of that, and it looks super clean. Or as you know, if we take our time, it'll look better. But to save time, I'm just gonna use this. Okay. So for this ghosting effect, I like to do it 5 times. So I like to have like 5 ghosts. So what you want to do is you want to copy your layer 5 times. So I'm pressing Control D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so now what I want to do is this first layer is in line. And I like to do it by frames. You can do it by changing the time. So if you right click and click on time and then time stretch, you can change it by doing time stretch, but I like to do it by frames. So this top layer is going to be our main video. This like a regular video is how it's going to go. But then if we go 1 frame to the right, I'm going to make the second layer, that's where it's going to start. So I'm going to drag this over here, and then one more drag the 5th one, and 1 more frame drag the 6th one. So now if you look at our video and then go back to our, since we're on the layer, we have to go back to our video preview, it'll look something like this, which you've seen a lot of on my second layer, and then change the opacity down. So I'm going to open this up, go to transform opacity, and I'm just going to change that to about 75. Go to the second one, change that opacity down to about, let's say 50, let's say about 30, and each one you just want to change the opacity like more, like less and less. 4th one, if we did 30, I'm going to do, let's say 20 on the 4th one, and then the last one I'm going to do 15, or no, I'm going to do 10 actually. So now if we look at it, we're getting that ghosting effect that we wanted before, and it looks decent. Alright, so I'm just going to save this, and then I'm going to go back into Premiere. So now if you look at our effect in Premiere, we'll have that ghosting effect where we started from. Where is it at? Okay, so yeah, we'll have that ghosting effect that we wanted. You can see there's kind of like an edge. I'm just going to make this known that there's kind of an edge here. That's because I didn't feather the rotor brush, so make sure you guys feather the rotor brush. Also, I didn't do the whole clip because I'm dumb and I forgot to make my composition more than 10 frames. So if you want the whole effect, make sure you change your composition. So here, hold on, let me go to my composition settings. Yeah, how long does it need to be? Then unzoom it. Yeah, see, it'll be, I didn't do all this. So make sure your simple that you can see and around the video, the whole video. It's pretty much just an overlay, and it's the same concept that I taught you earlier about the electric blue stuff. So I don't have the same snow, but same thing. I just want to click it, go to effect controls, and then change that to lighten to get rid of. Then I'll have my snow over the clip. So this effect is pretty much the line drawing effect that you see. So what you want to do is click on this little paintbrush tool up here, and then double click on your video preview again. And then what you can do is they used single frame. So if you go down here and you see this duration, make sure your single frame is on, and that's how you get kind of the line moving. So if I go to this frame and I draw it on, go to the next frame, the line won't be there, so I draw it on up here, next one, and then I draw it on up here, next one, and I draw it on up here, next one. You can see it'll give you this line moving effect. Also, I believe they used a different type of brush, let's say this brush, because you can see in the video it's not, the ends are not very like, they don't look. And next frame, and then this next frame, this next effect is super simple. It's pretty much just like a pop-up mask transition, or you want to have your subject moving. I'm gonna go to the end of the clip, right? Go to the last frame of the clip, or where I want it to meet. I'm gonna click on this little camera button here to take a picture. It'll bring up this window. You can save it as whatever you want, so I'm gonna save it as whatever. I'm gonna click, make sure this is checked, import into project, make sure that's checked, not your timeline, but your project window. Drag that on top of your effect, and then make sure it's the same length as your clip that you're using. And then what you want to do for this is you want to click on this top layer, go to your effect controls, click on this little draw tool here, object that you want. So I'm making a very crude mask, Take your time if you want it to look nice, but yeah. Okay, so now if I have this very crude mask, make sure it's on normal, and don't click inverted, or else you have the opposite of what you want. You see, which is kind of cool, but that's not what we want. So have it normal, and then if you look at the video right now, we'll have, you know, he's right here, and then he moves into it in the last frame. They also added, I'm gonna close all of this stuff. Gaussian blur, I'm gonna have blurriness about, you don't want it that much because it'll just look kind of weird, so I'm gonna have it about that much, right where your effect ends, and then just turn that back down to 0, and then you can see in the beginning he's blurred out, and then he'll become back in focus, and then they meet each other. Also, if we go back to the effects, I added there's a feather to my mask, and I think his was more crude. So to change that, go back to opacity, click on your mask, and then just change that down to 0. So now, since it's a very crude mask, it's gonna look very crude, but that's the effect. So for these transitions, there's kind of two effects going on. There's a flash transition and a mask where he's zooming in. So there might be a preset of already a flash transition, but I can't find it, so I'm just going to teach you how to do it by hand. So to get that flash transition, you're just going to want to look up brightness, right? And then drag on brightness and contrast to your first clip first, and then go back to your effect control. I'm going to go 2 frames to the left, 1, 2, and then I'm going to keyframe this brightness, go back to the 2 frames, and then I'm just going to drag this all the way up to, okay, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 frames back, move this right here, delete this one, okay, and then I'm going to mess with the contrast, okay, do this, click on the second effect, or the second clip right here, paste that in. The contrast is garbage, so I don't want to do that. But the brightness, I want it to be all the way up first, and then go 1, 2, 3 maybe. And then this flash transition, this contrast is garbage. I'm just gonna unchange that. Okay, 0. Hold on, let me change this contrast. Okay, I'm gonna copy this top clip here. Actually, we don't even want to do that, sorry. We just want to go to the last frame of this clip. I'm gonna take off the brightness because I forgot to do this, but take a picture of this by clicking the camera button. Make sure imports project is checked. Click OK. So yeah, once you save that picture, make sure your brightness is back on, that because I took it off. Save that picture, just drag it on to right here, and then go back to your first clip, or click on this top frame right here, and then what you want to do is go back to your effect controls, open opacity, check, do the same thing like that, and then I'm gonna make sure my feather is off, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just get this, and then I'm gonna change this motion or the scale. So I'm gonna click on this motion, open that up, keyframe this scale, and go 1 to about 5 frames. Hold on, 1 2 3 4 5, and then I'm just gonna change the scale all the way up, and at the same time I'm gonna go back and keyframe my opacity. So I'm gonna keyframe the opacity, it's already keyframed, make a keyframe right here. I'm gonna go 1 2 3 4 5, and then change that to 0. So now if you look at the effect, it does a flash, 0. Okay, so he goes flash, and then he zooms in. I can probably need to change the keyframes a little bit, so I'm going to change this to 100 right here. So flash is zoom in, and then he zooms out. And this breakdown is pretty much the eyeball glowing effect, or the blind eye effect, or whatever. And there's a lot of ways to do it, but I'm gonna show you my way, and I think it's the easiest way and the easy. Now I want to go up and create a mask right here, and then I'm just gonna mask out his eyeball right here, right? Mask out his eyeball like that, and it's horrible, so I'm gonna change this up a little bit. Okay, so now what we want to do now is you want to have your mask selected. So mask, and have it, make sure it's selected, click it, and then I'm just gonna go up here to animation, go down and click track mask. Now I'm gonna just do position and rotation since he's not really, you know, changing it. I guess you can also do scale rotation, but you can click this little play button here, but I'm not really gonna do that. I'm gonna go frame by frame just to make sure it's on the straight path. So I'm gonna go here frame by frame, and it looks decent except again, and it's still on the right path, except right here it could be a little bit bigger, or right there, and still on the right path. And just following the mask is I'm gonna go back to my mask, open that up, and right here where it says add, I'm just gonna click solid, and I'm just gonna add a little purple solid just to get a different color so you can see it better. Click OK. I'm gonna drag that in between my two clips right here, and then I'll have this purple solid, and if you look, it'll track his eye. And that looks kind of disgusting right now, so I'm gonna go back to my first layer, the top one, click on the masks, and the feather, just feather that out a little bit like that. And then so if you look at the video now, we have like a glowing eye effect. Now the mask isn't that big, so I suggest make it bigger. So what? Someone's on Steam. So I'm gonna make it bigger. I just clicked on the mask, press Ctrl T. It's the same thing. Now obviously the white eye is behind it, so you can't really see the purple. But I'm gonna press, or oh wait, I didn't click Ctrl T. Ctrl T. Make that a little bit bigger again. One frame. Yeah. Okay. And that's how you do like a glowing eye effect. Now you can add, I'm gonna go to my effects and add my favorite glow effect, S_glow, sapphire glow effect, and then I'm just gonna drag that on to my purple layer, and then now it's kind of like a glowing eyeball. Cool. And yeah, that's basically it for this tutorial. Or actually, I guess, I don't know, subscribe, you know what to do. Leave a like and subscribe. More breakdowns coming to you. Sony Vegas tutorials coming up next. After Effects and Premiere, blah, blah, blah. Peace out later.